Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that's got it all: huge ambition, incredible promise, and then a sudden roadblock. We're talking about how a massive nation, home to nearly 300 million people, tries to switch to clean energy. Let's break down the complex and honestly pretty surprising story of Indonesia's energy transition.
I mean, just think about the sheer scale of a national energy transition. It's mind-boggling, right? It's not just about popping up some solar farms here and there. We're talking about massive investments, huge infrastructure projects, and of course, the policies that hold it all together. So, to really get our heads around Indonesia's journey, we're going to need a clear roadmap.
So, the big question is, how does a country with these really ambitious green goals fight against the sheer inertia of an economy that's been running on fossil fuels for decades? How do you even begin to explain something that massive? Well, here's how we're going to tackle it. First, we'll look at the goal they set for themselves. Then we'll check in on the reality on the ground. And finally, we're going to zoom in on one key part of the story that, trust me, reveals the biggest challenge of them all. All right, first things first, let's look at the official ambition. Every huge national project like this has to start with a target, a goalpost. And Indonesia's? It was actually really clear and pretty forward-thinking. Okay, let's break this down a bit, because to really get the full picture, you've got to see all of the different players on the field. You have the government, setting these big, ambitious goals. Then you have this massive state-run utility that's actually managing the grid. And then you have millions and millions of regular people who could, in theory, be part of the solution. And as you can probably guess, trying to balance the needs and interests of all three of those groups, well, that's where the real challenge lies.
So, what exactly was this ambitious goal we're talking about? Let's get specific. Before we dive into all the challenges, let's understand exactly what the country was trying to achieve with its big energy policy.
So, according to their official national energy policy, the government set a very clear, very ambitious goal. Get this, to have 23% of the nation's total energy come from renewable sources, and to do it by the year 2025. But here's the reality check. We're in 2024 now, and renewables only make up about 14% of their energy mix. Yeah, that is a significant gap to close, with very little time left on the clock. And this chart right here, man, it really shows us why that gap is so huge. Just look at this. Indonesia's energy system is still overwhelmingly reliant on fossil fuels. You've got coal, oil, and natural gas making up a staggering 87% of the whole pie. That leaves renewables with just a tiny sliver. So with that reality in mind, how could Indonesia possibly close that gap? Well, instead of trying to look at every single renewable technology out there, let's zoom in on one really promising solution, one that literally puts the power directly into the hands of the people. We're talking about rooftop solar. The whole idea behind rooftop solar is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Just think about it. What if millions of homes and businesses couldn't just use electricity, but could actually generate their own clean power? And even better, what if they could sell any extra power they don't use back to the grid? Now, this whole idea is made possible by a really clever policy called net energy metering. Don't worry about the jargon. At its core, it's just a billing system. But it's a special one that basically turns your home's electric meter into a two-way street for power. So here's how it works. It's pretty cool. At night, when your solar panels aren't doing anything, you just pull electricity from the grid like you normally would. But then, on a bright, sunny afternoon when your panels are cranking out more power than your house needs, that extra energy doesn't go to waste. It flows back out to the grid. And here's the magic part. Your meter literally spins backward, earning you credits on your bill. Pretty neat, right?
I mean, this system sounds like a total win-win, doesn't it? It makes putting solar panels on your roof an economically smart move for the average person. But just as rooftop solar was really starting to pick up steam in Indonesia, the story took a sharp and very unexpected turn.
Yup. In early 2024, a new government regulation dropped that just completely changed the rules of the game. It effectively pulled the plug on the financial incentives that made rooftop solar so attractive for new installations. So here's the bottom line. The single biggest reason to go solar for many people, that ability to sell your extra power back to the grid and get paid for it, was suddenly gone. Just like that, eliminated for all new applicants. And on top of that, the new rules also brought in things like quotas and limited application windows, just adding more and more hurdles to the process. And this is such a key part of the story. You have to understand, the technology is solid. The solar panels themselves, they work perfectly. The expertise to install them, it's there, all across the country. And the sun, well, it obviously keeps on shining. The technology itself is absolutely not the problem here. And this quote really lays out the new reality in black and white. So the barrier that suddenly popped up out of nowhere wasn't a technical one. It was bureaucratic. It was just a few lines of text in a new rulebook, a single policy decision that completely changed the economic math for anyone wanting to go solar. Okay, so after walking through this whole story, what's the big takeaway here? What is the real barrier holding back Indonesia's clean energy transition?
You know, the case of rooftop solar in Indonesia teaches us a really crucial lesson. You can have the technology, you can have willing customers, you can have everything ready to go. But progress can be stopped in its tracks or even thrown into reverse by a single policy decision. It's like a three-legged stool, right? You need technology, economics, and policy all working together. If you kick one of those legs out, the whole thing just collapses. It becomes totally unstable. And that leaves us with this final and, I think, pretty provocative thought. As clean energy technology gets cheaper and more powerful every single year, maybe the biggest challenge we face in this global energy transition isn't really an engineering problem anymore. Maybe it's a governance one. What do you think?